what is EIDL loan? You know, that abbreviation actually representing economic injury disaster loan. It is not new. It is something ancient. It has been there for a long time. And we normally here in Midwest, we are not really, we don't really know that much, just because we don't have earthquakes and the flood and the fires, and it's not like that. We also don't have tornadoes like what Florida always have. So EIDL loan is for that. It's for the disaster. So the SBA give you a bunch of money and having you rebuild what you had lost. But on March 13, 2020, the SBA declared national emergency for COVID-19. So made that EIDL tool available to everybody in the business world, because we're all affected by EIDL, right? But EIDL loan has actually two parts to it. EIDL loan has the part called the grant, is a money that you get for free. It doesn't matter you get loan or not. You may be applying for EIDL loan, but later on you decided not wanting it, and you can keep the advanced piece. So two parts. One is advanced part, a grant for advanced payment. And the other part is the loan itself. So you probably sit there wondering, you know, there's so much noise about PPP. So what's the difference between PPP and EIDL? Know that PPP is a new creation. PPP was born this year. EIDL was old kid on the block, okay? And the PPP really has this very unique usage. It's for payroll cost mainly, right? 60% of it has to be for payroll, then 40% for limited items for expenses. And it's for a very short time. And the PPP, you can apply PPP up to 10 million, right? Because if your payroll is really high, you know, we have clients whose payroll is close to $1 million a month. Then you can imagine what kind of payroll she's running. If she has 2.5 months payroll, she's number is over 2.5 million, right? So those are the things we see. So it's 10 million capped for PPP, but EIDL loan is at 2 million. And right now, with the overwhelming demand, so SBA decided the maximum is 150,000. So this is where you see, is the maximum 150K or is 2 million? Both. It was supposed to be 2 million, but you're only going to get 150,000 right now if you apply. However, you can go back, say, no, 150K not enough, give me 2 million. And SBA has to consider that, okay? And on forgiveness side, PPP, you can work on it and get it 100% forgive. But EIDL loan, no. Only the advanced piece, the grant piece is forgiven no matter what, but the loan itself is not. You do have a term, 30 years and 3.75% a year for regular company, but for nonprofit is actually 2.75. And when you get this loan, and PPP doesn't check your credit. So if you have a business, it doesn't matter how bad your credit is, you get the PPP. But EIDL loan, no, they do check the owner's credit. That's why when you fill up the application, it asks you for owner's information. They do check that. They check your company status to make sure your company is valid. They check your credit, okay? And on the collateral side, EIDL loan has a collateral requirement based on the amount, but PPP totally free, no collateral. And EIDL loan is something that you work with SBA, and you can not go to your banker, get EIDL loan. The banker would tell you that, oh no, don't get that. You get something else from us. Of course, EIDL is managed by the government. The bank doesn't get any cut on this, so it's not their business, okay? But the bank would help you with PPP application because they're getting percentage cut for the amount they give you. So if you borrow 100,000, if you get a PPP for 100,000 and the bank got a $5,000 commission on that. So that's why the bank is helping you for PPP, and but bank would have nothing to do with the EIDL loan. Okay, and on the usage side, PPP had so much. You know, you already know what PPP is using for, because there's so much talk about it. It's very straightforward, but EIDL loan is really not clear. It's not clear because the definition is so wide. For example, the EIDL loan says that you can only use EIDL for working capital. Hey, what is not working capital? And if it is capital, it's working, you know, that some people say that. And no working capital definition by accountant. Working capital is basically means net working capital. Net working capital is current asset minus current liability. So what's in the current assets? Inventory, receivable, a lot of things are in current asset. What's in the current liability? Credit card, payable, and things like that. So it is really defined, not good enough that for anybody to say, well, that's what that is. So if you go on internet to check, what can I use EIDL loan for? You will get all kind of answer. But when you look for answer, of course, you're gonna look at where they quote the sources from, right? Treasury at the end has the most say. SBA give you the rule, give you the CARES Act, but Treasury is the one that will make the language more clear. That's what they did for many, many things. So I just want to kind of make you understand that it is not a really easy place to give you answer. I just had a client emailed me saying that, well, can I use my EIDL loan to pay credit card? It is such a big question. I don't know. And but the best answer is, if it is your working capital, then you will, I know you will say, what is the working capital? But so I am sure there's more EIDL clarification will come out, because now people start using EIDL, right? Because PPP is almost done. And on the loan advance part, I want to make something really, really clear for you. You know, earlier, some people actually realize that when they apply for PPP forgiveness, they have to add the grant they got from EIDL into it, and to get $10,000 more forgiveness application in order everything to be forgiven. And that is true. So let me tell you this, based on my study, and this is what it is. If you receive your EIDL loan after January 31st, 2020, before April 3rd, 2020. So if you receive your EIDL loan between January 31st and April 3rd, in between, and that grant part need to be part of the forgiveness application. But if you receive your EIDL loan now, that is not needed to be included in PPP. So that is where the clarification, and I read many things and look at many resources and to come up with this understanding, which I think is pretty correct by the forms that they posted. And so I'll give you example. Let's say you got 150,000 EIDL loan on April 1st, and your PPP loan was 50,000, okay? And then the 10,000 advance you got from your EIDL loan need to be added on top of the 50,000 PPP you received, so make it 60,000. So you will come up with payroll expenses for the 60% of the 60,000, and then the other 40%, which is 24,000, can be for rent and utility and all that. So make sure that you understand what I mean by, if you receive EIDL loan and within January 31st and April 3rd, you include that in your forgiveness application package. And talking about the package, you want to do it right the first time. We already heard banks saying that once you give us documentation and we run through the forgiveness review, and we decided 50% of it is cannot be forgiven, and they do not allow you to go back, say, oh, you know, let me give you more things, and I know I have other things I can give you so I can be all forgiven. Bank one of the bank we knew already said no going back. Once you submit, they're done. One of the reason is, you know what? They don't get paid for doing the forgiveness part. But I believe that if you don't get forgiven, that turned into loan, the bank actually would have proceeds over that. So with that, I guess I'm not on the bank side. I'm just talking about business. So I understand every entity is for business. The bank need to make money, right? So they want to get you, they want to get more loan portfolios. So if you are not getting forgiven and you have to pay the loan, and then they can charge administrative charges either to you or to SBA. Okay, so having said that, this is about the grant piece. So the grant piece maximum is 10,000 maximum, and every business, big or small, should apply. And let me tell you other things. The government shutdown doesn't look like it will come again. And we gone through the March, April blue, and now just reopened, even though skyrocketed the cases and COVID-19 spread is going up, not going down. But I don't think this government will go back to shut down. So we already passed the best time to control COVID-19. Now it is on freeway, run as fast as can. So with that kind of consideration, and in US, what I'm really amazed is they can make this COVID-19 political, right? Isn't that amazing? So knowing that if there's no shutdown, there will be no federal assistance like the unemployment benefit, like the PPP, and like the EIDL loan. So those assistance would not be triggered if we don't have a federal shutdown. So or the executive orders from the state. So with that kind of thinking, if you can get the loan, even if you don't have to spend it and you feel like you can get by right now without using the loan, that's fine. You have 30 years to spend, and you want to keep this loan available, cash available for your business for the winter and the spring. If we just look at 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, that particular pandemic came back to the society 3 times. The second time was more deadly than the first time, and finally went away after 3 strikes, took 18 months. So if it is 18 months, we're talking about next year this time. So folks, if you have a business, be responsible for your small business, apply for EIDL loan. That is what I am telling you. If you have multiple companies, apply multiple times. Okay, I know one of you have multiple companies. I saw your name there. And if you have not done that, shame on you, and it need to be done. Need to be done today, okay? Then now let's move to the long terms. I briefly covered that. 30 years, 3.7 for your business, 2.75 for nonprofit, okay? The first payment to the loan doesn't come in until 12 months later. That 12 months you don't pay the loan, but interest is already accruing. And I already look at the loan terms for 150,000, and if you got it on June 1st, it will be due to you on the monthly basis, start from June 1st of next year, and on about $765. I think that's how the amortization goes, and so it's pretty doable. Okay, if you believe in your business, you get this loan and you ride over to next year and making sure that you always have cash to operate. And the game of winning right now for businesses is who lasts longer. You know, when I was a kid, there used to be a game we play and someone will make faces, then we all gonna be having a straight face to see who is not laughing at the end. So everybody was broken up and laughing, and the one who does not laugh is the one winning. So you just want to be the one last. So make sure that you understand EIDL loan. That's why you're here with me, right? Loan security interest. This is something that I want to mention. Collaterals. collaterals. And remember this, if you are getting EIDL loan under 25,000, you don't need to worry because there is no collateral at all. No collateral means what? No collateral means that if you're really going to close your business, you just close your business. You close it. It's done. No collateral, no collection. All right? And it's not related to you personally at all. But if you borrow from $25,001 to $200,000, and in this case, the loan is personally guaranteed by business properties. So I know when I use personally guaranteed, making you go, well, me, personally guaranteed. No, you are not the business. Personally guaranteed by the business means the business guarantees it. Business guarantees it with everything inside of business, which means what? Means your computer and basically everything I put on your tax return. Let's say if you have a business, you have a restaurant business, I put on the tax return 4 stove head, ventilation system, and chairs, nice picture. If I put them on the tax return as your asset, yeah, those are the one you need to sell them, pay SBA for that amount, okay? But if you have loan from them from $201 to $2 million, that is where SBA is asking for personal guarantee, okay? So personal guarantee means that if you really are belly up with your business, you have to belly up with your personal financial as well, filing bankruptcy and from personal all the way to business. So in business, when you close a business, you don't even have to file business bankruptcy. When business closes and liability, everything just done, like a person died. When a person died, they don't file bankruptcy, right? Just die. And the same thing, when business dies, just dies, what do you want business to do? Not every business dies has to file bankruptcy. So you don't even need to bother with business bankruptcy to get away from loans in a lot of time. And so that's about security interest. That made sense to you, right? So I want you to remember what that is. And so in one of those questions I often receive from clients, and they were asking for the EIDL loan and what can use, but they asked me, okay, Ying, what is the one that I cannot use for? Just okay, fine, working capital is hard to define, but what can I not use that for? And that definitely I can give you a list what you cannot use that for. You cannot use that for dividend and the bonus to the owner. You cannot use that to disperse to the owner, other than if the owner is working. If you're if you're like me working, I am working so hard, so I deserve a paycheck from Community CPA, right? So I am the owner, but I am working, so that is not a disbursement. But I should not be writing a check out of EIDL loan for, for just paying me for something luxury. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything luxury I do. I'm workaholic, if there's any definitions for individuals. So I don't have, my luxury moment is this moment with you. So I don't need to go to the beach to sit on the beach. I think that's not me. Also repay back the shareholder loan, that is not one you can do. And expansion of your facility and getting a new restaurant and doing a whole new renovation, no, you cannot. But I would argue, if you're doing something that to make it possible for COVID-19. So for example, if your restaurant has too crowded space, now with social distancing, you have to change inside to make it available for business. I would argue that is working capital. That is your working capital you can use for EIDL loan. I would not consider that's an expansion, no. And repair physical damage not related to COVID-19. So let's imagine this, and you got EIDL loan for COVID-19, but a storm hit and broke your roof, and you are going to repair that roof. That cannot be used, the EIDL loan for, because that EIDL loan was to pay for injury caused by COVID-19. Okay, so these are the examples we cannot use that loan for. We cannot use EIDL loan to refinance loan, to refinance SBA loan. That's even worse, right? So those are the things you want to know, that EIDL loan doesn't allow you to do that. And now I'm going to share screen with you because I want to show you a couple of slides now, and which is needed your visual, so that way we can understand how you can go about understanding different scenarios. For example, you're saying that, well, you know, Ying, what if I don't want the loan? I got my advance and I just don't want the loan. And that's fine. And you can change your mind, even though I totally disagree with your thought. Why do you not want it? And what makes you think that you are so unbreakable? If we have another pandemic wave comes in, you will survive? Really? If you are that way, maybe you're not affected by COVID-19 at all. Why are you even apply EIDL loan to begin with? Right? So I would always, everybody who comes to me, ask me about EIDL loan, I always tell them that you should apply and you should get it, and keep it in your back pocket, and tell me you don't need it in December. I want you to give me a call. If you don't need it in December, we will work on returning it. You can return it anytime, no prepayment penalty. So you pay a little bit of interest between the day you got it to the day you return, and it's 3.75 a year. So that means it is about $3,750 a year. So for 2 months, you divided that by 12 times 2, that would be your payment. So now, if you do not want the loan, so on that portal they give you, you just leave it. If you leave it for 6 months, they're going to be telling you that, you know, about not wanting to take the loan. So they will say that our record indicate you have not taken the next step to complete your SBA EIDL loan application. These steps are necessary to continue to process your application. Failure to complete these steps will result in your application being withdrawn. See, the computer does it for you. You don't even need to worry about it, okay? And so now, this is the case, you say that you don't want it. But what if you got something and it's not enough? What if you got 150,000 and then you're like, why 150,000? What I applied for 2 million. And what's going on with Ms. Carranza? And Ms. Carranza said that 150,000 representing your 6 months operating cost, right? You wonder, how does she know that? But that's what she said. And she literally said that. And I was listening to her talk and thinking, man, someone doesn't understand small business 100%. But anyway, so if this is not enough, what you want to do is you want to get back to the SBA. Don't accept that loan, but write back to them. And you know that you have 2 months time to accept it. So make sure you write back to them. I know it is kind of a general, it's a disaster loan at sba.gov. I know it's a very general email, but they do look at it. They're actually pretty good at getting back to people. So you email back to them, tell them you need more, and they will consider giving you more. And that is actually set in stone. They will, unless they come back for a reason saying that, no, we think that 150,000 is really enough for your operation, then you can prove to them it's not. Maybe your salary, your wages to the workers is already 150,000 a month, right? And then let's say if you didn't get back to them, or you already got back to them, you already accepted this one. You're saying that, Ying, now what I do, because I already accepted and I didn't know I can go back. That's okay. You can email them now, tell them that you like to add more money, add more loan to your loan, and you have 2 years to do that. So a long time, okay? And so that would be in the situation where you needed more, okay? But what if you got a loan, you log into the portal and they give you a amount, but you really don't want the same number. You want less. You cannot get more in the portal, but you can get less. So for example, this one, and we have a case here, the SBA approved 16,800. But our client and really concerned because he didn't really want 16,800, and he thinks that number itself really doesn't make sense and is a very bad luck number, and so he rather want to have it for 11,100. He thinks that's a good lucky number for him. He only want that much. Okay, then what you do is you simply move your you go into you edit your amount right here. Okay, electronic disbursement, you edit it. Okay, and then you edit it right here. See, then you go to then you will be coming to this screen and it will show you that you're asking for 11100. So this is how you change the amount. So you can inside changing to small but not to more. Okay, so this is kind of give you covered kind of the 3 scenarios, right? If you don't think it's enough, what you do? If you think it's enough, what you do? You just accept it. But if you want to change the amount, and you can change it to smaller number, not bigger number. And if you just want to ditch it because you got your advance, that's enough. You don't want anything anymore, then don't answer the portal. Then it will be automatically shut for you. Computer will take care of you. Okay. Now, the last part of the conversation about EIDL is the compliance. I know a lot of small business, and we don't really, we're not really, we're not good with government money. I am saying this is not because we're bad at managing money. It's because we are, we're not used to have government money running in our pocket. And so many small businesses I know are very proud of not relying on government money to do anything. So everything is out of their own pocket, and they felt that's the best way to live a life. So this government help is fundamentally or mentally hard on a lot of small business I know, especially in the immigrant population. And the government image in the back home may be very different. So to warm up to government assistance is actually a challenge for a lot of immigrant businesses, okay? So I want to talk about that particular thought process. And when we are a small business, when we accept government money to our business, we are accepting, we are submitting ourselves for government compliance, and with no complaints, and willingly accepting the compliance. Just like if I am in business of working on taxes, accounting, I am willingly in compliance with CPA, accounting standards, tax standards, IRS, all kind of regulatory bodies, and you would have to submit yourself to. So when we receive PPP, when we receive EIDL, it's no difference. We're submitting ourselves for government compliance requirement, and the government do have very detailed compliance requirement for us. So I always say that in the past, if your business don't care about having an accountant for you, and you think that you can just put your numbers on a piece of paper, then at the end come to Community CPA, say, here is my record. And in the end, if you are doing that, and it is not a good idea for EIDL loan or for PPP. And earlier I mentioned to you, when you apply for PPP, we already knew one bank told the PPP clients, well, they're not client, now they got in trouble, so they are clients, but what happened is they submitted it and it didn't get forgiven. They want to go back to redo it. The bank says no, because that is a one-time shot, and you come in, you apply, and here is our conclusion. So these are typical compliance requirement. So it's ask you to do a very good job on tracking how you use the money. So for EIDL loan, it requires you to track on however long the loan you had. Let's say you had it for 30 years. The SBA require you to keep all the record related to your 30 years loan plus 3 more years. Got it? So if you pay your EIDL loan off in 1 year, then you are required to keep the document for total of 4 years. When you finish, 3 more years. But before you finish, you need to keep all the record, everything you wrote EIDL loan to forever, because you need to save that invoice, need to save that statement. If you use that to pay your utility bill need to be there. So you need to keep that receipt forever. And the accounting transactions and your books, the financial statement for your whole business need to be available for SBA for any given 5 years as of this year. So if you are being audited in 2021 and you borrowed EIDL loan in 2020, so all of the EIDL loan receipts, you have it, and you also have 5 years before 2021, all the accounting record available for SBA. You're probably going to say that, well, I didn't even deal with them at that time. Why do I supposed to give to them? No, you do. And because that's their money and they can do compliance on you, and they may not be the body coming in to do the compliance. They can have IRS to come in. They can have other government entity to come in for them. Okay, so this is where I want you to remember, when you have a EIDL loan, the best is that you open up a bank account for EIDL loan. So you will write your expenses out of there. Every time you write the expenses, just get into such a good habit and to save the copy of the expense. Okay, and then when you finish the loan, you have all the copy of the expenses, and you also have your bank ledger, and then you can meet with anyone who comes around and knowing that you're using that money properly. And I don't blame the government doing that. And if they don't do compliance review, what if people just abuse the system using the money not for the intended purposes, right? So, I welcome compliance. I just want to make sure that folks who are never deal with compliance review before, and to know what they're getting into, to prepare you for that, so that you can face that without trouble, without losing sleep, and you knew that you are just fine. Okay, so EIDL compliance is really important. And the receipts for 30 years, if you're going to borrow this money for 30 years, I'm sorry, you have to keep your utility bill for 30 years. And EIDL loan also regulate how you can use it. So for borrowers who borrowed more money from EIDL loan, typically more than 150,000 up to 2 million, and they have so many restrictions on what you can use that for. For example, the loan cannot be used for lobbying, and you cannot make a payment to lobbyists. Even let's say if you are in the business and there is some legislatures is going to make your business difficult, and you start running protesting and doing things, spending money, printing posters to protect your business interest, and lobbying for your interest change legislature, things like that. No, you cannot do that, right? And you also, for your subcontractors who work for you, they also cannot use your money for that. And then in your contract with the subcontractor, you have to write down this money is from EIDL loan. So that way they know to behave how they use that money. And you also shouldn't be double dipping on the spending. So EIDL loan, remember EIDL loan can pay for the payroll, right? But you also have PPP. So if the PPP already covered that portion of payroll, don't use EIDL loan for that. You can always use EIDL loan later when you finish the forgiveness part on the PPP. Okay, so with that, it's kind of a general guidelines for how you use EIDL, how you maintain the records. And now I'm going to share screen again because I want to show you how exactly accounting works in the EIDL related to the book. And if you have a bookkeeper who works for you, it is such a great idea that you forward this portion of video just to that bookkeeper, because I really believe that the way I explain accounting is super easy, and I don't think I will confuse anyone, but it is a very important way to do it right, okay? And let me share that screen with you so we can explain that with the screen in front of you. Now, when you receive the EIDL loan, okay, when you signed the loan document and you got the money, and know that you should deposit that money into a separate bank account. So I'll call that EIDL bank account. You see how here? So I debit on the accounting, use accounting language, I increase EIDL bank balance by 150,000. And I also increase credit. I also increase liability for EIDL. This is EIDL loan liability for 150,000. So this completes a debit credit transaction. You got the money. So when people talk about, oh, I got the money, and accountant would right away have this debit credit in their head already, okay? So now you got that money. And I saw the question come in. I will answer that question. And let me finish the accounting side for EIDL. So when you spend EIDL money to pay utility bill, this is an example I give you to say that if you pay utility bill, but it works the same if you pay cell phone bill, if you pay payroll, if you pay anything, right? But just don't use it to pay bonus to the owner. And so when you spend EIDL loan to pay some bills, you will increase the expense for the bill. That's 2,300, for example, that's utility for the month. And you will credit EIDL loan. When I credit EIDL bank, when I credit EIDL bank, I meant to say that I reduce the bank balance, right? And I increase the expense by 2,300. So that goes my income statement. I'm going to use that to reduce my taxable income. So that becomes my expense. But I will also do another part, which is I decrease my bank balance, my EIDL loan bank account. Okay, so this is when you pay a bill. But when you pay a monthly $760 to EIDL, to SBA, okay, because you have to pay back the EIDL loan, right? So you write a check, you pay SBA. So the 700 is EIDL loan principal. 60 is the interest. So here is what you're gonna do. So your bookkeeper or the business owner, and you are going to reduce your EIDL loan balance. Am I right? Because you borrowed 150,000. Now for the first time, you're gonna reduce the loan balance by 700 because you're paying back the principal by 700, right? Now, the interest expense, You increase interest expense goes to the expense account. So your expense account increased by $60 because you paid expense, okay? So that will contribute to your tax saving. Then this check you wrote cannot come out of EIDL bank. No, it has to come out from a different bank account. It's coming from your regular checking. So I call it operation bank, not your EIDL bank. So when you like to pay $10,000 to EIDL principal, so your business getting better, you want to pay the loan back. You're gonna pay $10,000 for right now. So when you do that, what happens to your book? You will reduce EIDL loan liability account. So that's a debit to the loan balance, right? So we had 150,000. We already reduced by 700. We're gonna reduce the loan by another 10,000, right? So my loan balance is going down, and that. But what check you use to pay down this loan to write to SBA? You are writing out of operation bank because you're paying back SBA for the loan principal. When you pay all your EIDL loan off, you have on your balance sheet, you have the EIDL loan balance already because you had 150,000. Then you paid 700. Give me a second. So you had 150,000 on the loan balance you borrowed. You paid back 700, and now you just paid back 10,000. Now you want to pay back 100,000. So all of these are reducing your loan balance, offsetting your operating bank, okay? So these are all the scenarios you would have, ladies and gentlemen, because you don't really have another reason to do EIDL loan accounting differently. So this is what you have. So now let me show you, and when you do that, for the tax filing piece, okay, and EIDL loan is not taxable. That's why we're depositing that in a separate account. Don't mix it with your operating account, because your operating account, the deposit come in, that's your income, okay? So your EIDL loan is not taxable, put it aside. You can deduct the expenses you paid with the EIDL money, okay? Keep in mind. So if you paid 150,000 expenses out of EIDL loan, that 150,000, every penny is deductible to offset your income, okay? And your interest paid to EIDL is additional expense for your business, and SBA is not going to send you an interest statement to tell you that this is how much you owe me at the end of the year. You are the one keeping the amortization schedule you got from the bank. You need to give that to us so we can really see where is the principal, where is the interest. We can book that properly, or give to your bookkeeper to book that properly, okay? And this last screen I gave you is a very interesting one because I want you to look at this. So if you got compliance review, this is what you're gonna do. I'm giving you the answer. You just need to print out EIDL bank ledger and support it with your receipt. So this is your bank ledger. And remember on June 1st, you got a $150,000 deposit. So that's a 150,000 increase on your balance. You were zero, now you got 150,000. Remember you paid a May utility for 250,000? Oh, remember you paid the rent for 5,000? And remember, and you actually made a $700 monthly payment, and this is where the principal is. This is the principal that you have, and where you are paying down the loan. And then look at the utility for June. Okay, you're reducing that, and the rent for June. So you paid off. Our balance is 0 on July 30th. So that particular ledger, my dear, you need to keep it for 3 more years. Even though you finish that on July 30th, 2020, I'm sorry, you need to keep it till July 30th, 2021, 2022, 2023. So on that day, you can be done with the record. But you need to, when you have this one print out, you need to attach your invoices. Remember that receipt is gonna be kept forever. So you're gonna be printing that out, attached to it. If you can do that, you graduated from EIDL. So this is where I come back and I say accounting is important. And I always tell my folks, I know like people goes to do taxes and they come to the tax preparer, they felt like the most important thing is the people who actually key in the number in the tax so they get a refund and the voila is really good. But I always say for businesses, the most important thing is not even doing taxes, is doing accounting. When your accounting is done beautifully, your tax will be good. But when your accounting is not done properly, your tax, even if it is good, is built on the sand. When you get into audit, when IRS marching to your business, you felt very disorganized because you don't have anything to rely on. This is where I always tell folks that you need to have a good accounting system put in place. And in fact, our firm,